I'm going to refocus us here. Let's get on to the third and final piece of this. New ideas for movie theaters. How do we take movie theaters into the future with a new idea, not just fixing the problems now, but something that could make it more enticing for people to make that part of their experience?
My ideas are not novel because I went to a theater one time that had an experience like this where it was sort of 4D and your chair was kind of like a not a roller coaster, but it was a mechanism of sorts that would move and shift when stuff happened in the movie. So, an easy example would be if there was an earthquake in the movie, your chair would literally quake and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So your pitch would be to have introduce those into more theaters, not exclusively, I assume. Correct? You would have some sections or chairs or showings that would do this,
Well,
but
I think legally you have to have some stationary chairs for people with motion sickness or disabilities or something like that. But I think generally speaking, having I guess this is called a 4D experience because it brings you
yeah, I know what you're talking
into
about.
the movie.
Like the seat has got haptic feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I like those experiences. I think that that would be interesting with certain movies. Like if you're watching Jurassic Park, yeah, like that sounds awesome. If
Do you know
I'm
what's wild about these experiences though? This was like the one time I actually did buy a drink for my movie and that happened and my drink went everywhere.
oh, good, yeah, well, I
So
buckle up for a lot more of that.
it made me actually not wanna do that again, like, do have one of those experiences again, or at least if I did, I wouldn't buy concessions, which is not what movie theaters want you to do, they want you to buy concessions.
Yeah, and speaking of that, that's kind of where my proposal goes because, like we talked about before, only half of the revenue that's brought in by ticket prices goes to the movie theater, which is not enough to keep them afloat. So they have to sell concessions in order to make up the difference. My thought is, can you bring people into the movie theater either for a longer period of time where they're buying more stuff or where they would come not even for the movie, but they're just buying the concessions. So like bring people that are not even there for that purpose, but you still make
You
revenue off them.
know, I've actually thought about that before because where are most movie theaters? They're usually in malls. And I think that having the concession stand behind the ticket counter is actually a wrong choice. Because if you had the concessions accessible to people before the ticket booth, then people might be incentivized to go and get concessions, even though they're hanging out at the arcade or something like that.
Yeah.
So that could be a solution. I also think that, um, you could they have if you're part of their rewards program, you can get, bundled concessions, like, if you buy
Mm.
a certain number of snacks, you get a 5% discount or a 10% discount. You can do stuff
Sure.
like that.
Yeah. And again, you're increasing the value, the perceived value based on, spending more money overall, but you're getting it at a cheaper rate. So the value has increased. But what I was going to say, what if you have a dining experience that is self-contained to a degree from the movie theater experience. So, like a food court within the movie theater, where if you want to come in, you can have movie theater. I mean, most people, you and I are the exceptions, love movie theater popcorn. So why don't you make it easy for somebody to grab a movie theater popcorn while they're hanging out at the mall versus having to buy the ticket to do that? The other piece to
Yeah.
this, I think, is you can build a whole evening out of the movie theater because movies used to be a good date night where you would go and you'd watch a movie with somebody. Now it's not as much of looked at as a good date night because you don't get to talk to the person. But what if the movie theater had a small putt-putt course in it or some other thing that you're doing there and then the movie is the cap off of the evening. Now you're spending more
I
time
mean,
overall. You grab a drink, you have some kind of food or dinner experience that's worked into that and then you get to do the movie at the end. You're making an evening of it versus a portion of your evening.
I think that the stuff that you're describing are definitely cool ideas. And there are some theaters that have tried to do versions of what you're saying, just more contained. Like there's dinner and a show experiences.
Mhm.
There's some place near me called Cinepolis. I don't know how you say it, but basically it's
Looks like they're
dinner and a
trying to
show.
combine cinema and like a
And, and
megapolis or like Acropolis
yeah,
or
and yeah.
and it's just a
Um,
very hard thing to smash together. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and I've thought about, like, different variations that they could have or should have gone with branding, and ultimately, I have actually figured out why they landed on it. I just I never know how to say
It's
it,
it's
but that
clunky, yeah.
anyway, their whole shtick is that it's dinner and a show, so their whole thing is that you go in, you order dinner, and you eat dinner while you watch on a huge movie screen, and it's like,
Yeah,
to your point, it's communal because it's still a movie theater experience. So there are theaters that do stuff like that. I think the challenge that you would run into is that if you were to do like putt-putt golf, for instance, you're basically saying that the business would have to expand to more than just a theatrical experience,
right.
which I mean, a large conglomerate would be able to do like AMC, but a mom and pop shop would absolutely not be able to do. So I think the better solution that is more accessible to theaters would be bringing back double features where you pay like a slight increase in ticket price to get two movies and then you're there for longer so you're more incentivized to get concessions
Sure.
either before the movie in the middle of the movies, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the putt-putt was just the first thing I threw out there, but it was an example. Something else, and I don't know what that would be necessarily, but some other reason that you were hanging out there prior to the movie instead of showing up for the movie was the idea. But you also touched on the dinner and show thing, which this is my final idea here, because I would eat this up. This is, like, totally in my wheelhouse. I love themed foods. I think that they are incredibly fun. I make stuff with my kids all the time. When a
You're
holiday
like
comes up, we make little
you're the
themed.
one guy.
Oh, man. I have cookbooks. You know how many cookbooks I have? Like, I have a whole Star Wars cookbook where you can make stuff from the movies. It tells you how to do it, how to present it, all this other stuff. It's great. I got Marvel ones. I got all kinds of movie-based Harry Potter
Sure.
ones, all kinds of stuff. Movie
I
theaters
mean, they
should
have a
lean into that.
place.
Imagine you can go, like, if you go to watch Harry Potter and you can get Harry Potter specific foods there, like, you can get your butterbeer while you go to Harry Potter, like, that incentivizes you to buy more concessions. Now, J.K. Rowling might have an issue
Sure.
with the butterbeer thing because I know she's very tight on that, but that's one example. Imagine
No,
any
it's
of
a
these
good
things. You go to see
example.
your Star Wars movie and then they make, you have some form of blue or green milk available during the Star Wars movie. Lots of movies have, like, some sort of food that goes out. Lady in the Trap, you get a bowl of spaghetti, I guess. I don't know. But I think that this would
Yeah.
encourage people to make it more of like a themed evening. When Barbenheimer was going on, people went to the Barbie movies and they were all dressed up like Barbie and Ken because it was a thing. It was an event to do. That didn't involve
Yeah.
food, but I feel like you can still make it more an event by, finding ways to make it special. And I think through a themed food would be a great way to do it. And what kid is not going to want to have some kind of themed food with their movie going experience? That's where I think the big play is. I'd be all over it.
I don't know about big play, but
Oh,
I
big
I
play.
see themed
With the
food
amount
definitely
look,
has its
the amount of
place
if you take the amount of movies I watch times X amount of themed foods available, I'm keeping the movie theaters afloat by myself at that
by
point.
yourself. Yeah. No, it's true. If there are any movie theater owners here, you know how to game Jason. Um, I think that it is a very intriguing idea. I don't know that it would be a catch-all solution. I mean, none of these are catch-all solutions, but I think that obviously I think it's interesting, and I think that it would definitely elevate the experience because it would create a more communal experience.
Yeah.
I'm on board, honestly. Like I said, I think
I think it
themed
would be fun.
foods have I think themed foods have their place, and I think that doubling down on the community experience is what will save theaters. Like I we talked about price and we talked about comfort and we talked about the technical abilities of theaters, but I actually think overall Morgan's feel good message for this episode would be double down on the community experience because that is why people go. And if you make the community aspect of it more appealing, that in it of itself will make the ticket price more attractive.